What's up guys, Houndish here, today with some Destiny 2 news. We're going to talk about the Destiny 2 expansions, some pretty interesting information that's popped up. We're also going to take a look at a new public event on Nessus, as well as a Cabal Lost Sector that you'll find in the European Dead Zone. I also wanted to touch on the Sentinel Titan and talk about a couple of things there. And we also have things ramping up for the beta, as well as the PC release of the game, which I'll talk about at the end. So first up, we've got a pretty interesting snippet of information regarding Destiny 2's expansions. Destiny 2 already has a season pass for expansion 1 and 2. The first expansion will be related to Osiris, and the second one appears to be related to the War Mines. A leak suggested that we'll get the first expansion sometime in the winter of 2017, and then we're likely to see the second one in the spring of 2018. This is pretty exciting if this is going to be the case. There'll be plenty of content, but a Reddit user pointed out that a Bungie employee was listed as working on Destiny 2 expansions via LinkedIn. So Dan Miller has been a designer at Bungie since July 2005. He's also worked with THQ and Monolith Productions, but as of October 2016, he is the creative lead on a Destiny 2 expansion. It doesn't specify which expansion it is or whether it's just expansions in general, but he is a creative lead for the expansion. And of course, the huge thing here is that he has been working on this since October of 2016. So essentially, Destiny 2's expansion-specific content has been in production for 10 months now, which is pretty awesome. Of course, we kind of expect Bungie to be working on this stuff ahead of time, but this is definitely a good lead that they've got on this right here. I mean, if we're going to see expansions, you know, in the latter part of 2017, presumably that's after October. So, you know, that's a full year towards the first expansion potentially, which is definitely awesome news. It gives us a good idea about how much work Bungie is putting into the new game and how much kind of look ahead they have as well. Moving on, in the recent IGN footage, we get a brief look at a Titan dropping a bubble inside of a map that appears to be on Mercury. So we did previously see a clip of 4 ships loading into what appears to be Mercury, and this is pretty cool. You know, we had Mercury PvP maps in Destiny 1, Mercury had the Lighthouse, we also had the Sunbreaker quest there, and while this remains not to be a fully explorable planet, we will still be able to visit it for certain activities, which is pretty cool. Moving on, we see our first real footage inside of patrol spaces. So we get a look at a public event inside of Nessus, and this is a Cabal excavation. To complete the public event, you are required to override the mining lander by linking guardians, kind of similar to a war sat that you'd see in Patrol. There's kind of a zone there that you have to be inside of. And these Cabal excavations are pretty interesting. Inside of some of the trailers, we've seen other footage of these kind of mining landers coming down to the surface, which is pretty awesome. The Cabal have a keen interest in the planet Nessus. We know that inside of the inverted Spire Strike, they're trying to get hold of Protheon, who is the Strike boss, and they're kind of drilling into the surrounding areas, trying to get down into the chambers where the Vex reside. As far as what else the Cabal may be drilling for inside of Nessus, we'll have to wait and see in the final game. Also in this clip, we can see a Viced scout rifle, which I believe is the first time we've seen one. It looks pretty awesome. During the Sentinel footage that we've seen, we get a good look at the tower hangar being attacked by the Cabal. You can see that the fuel tanks have been knocked over, there's a destroyed ship in the hangar. But moving on, we get a good look at a lost sector right here. You can see the Titan kind of going through those Cabal enemies, and in the background you can see the Lost Sector logo. So this looks like it takes place in the huge Cabal base buried in the European Dead Zone. And this is also where we saw some footage of the tank driving through. And in one of the previous trailers, we see a couple of Guardians around these kind of huge Cabal doors, and we do see a chest on the ground right here. So on top of the story element that's going to take place in this Cabal base, there will be a Lost Sector, and it also appears to be the most likely starting point for the raid in Destiny 2 as well. We have seen another Lost Sector, so Bungie posted this picture to Instagram, and this is Effect's Lost Sector on Nessus. There are a bunch of goblins and a Hydra in the background right there. These things just look really awesome, and I can't wait to explore them. Finally, I wanted to talk about the Sentinel Titan. We've seen some pretty damn impressive gameplay from the Sentinel so far. There's been a lot of speculation that the gameplay from IGN was actually slightly outdated. IGN have defended themselves and said that that is not the case. When we talk about the Titan in particular, we do have some pretty crazy movement speeds for the Sentinel Titan. But one thing to remember is that throughout the builds we've had so far, we haven't been able to kind of tweak the armor, agility, recovery kind of stats. So high agility could be the answer to why we're seeing this Titan move so effectively. But in terms of what people are saying about the Sentinel Titan, there is a lot of anxiety from, Warlocks or Hunter players that the Sentinel Titan is going to be, by far the best class. Now, I think it does look super aggressive, very fast-paced, and is incredibly similar to things like the Sunbreaker Titan in a lot of ways. But on top of this, you do have, the defense abilities. You can hold the shield up and kind of block with it, and you can also pop Ward of Dawn, which is a first for a subclass, being able to choose between two different versions of the super without actually changing any settings. And I completely understand why people feel that the Sentinel Titan looks very, very good right now, because it does look very, very good. However, we haven't played the game yet. Let's not jump to any conclusions about, what other subclasses will be able to do. We do have the Arc Strider, and while it currently may appear to be somewhat lackluster in comparison to the Sentinel Titan, it doesn't necessarily have the PvE utility that the Sentinel Titan has in particular. It's worth bearing in mind that a lot of stuff is changing right now, and there's also a lot about counterplay and how to use the supers that we just can't possibly know yet because we haven't played the game. Another thing to point out is that the Sentinel Titan was captured by a Bungie employee. So this is someone who's played the game a lot. Most of the footage that you've seen of Arc Strider or the other subclasses, have come from E3 or the reveal event, where people have just literally played the game for a couple of hours. I think to a degree, we are seeing gameplay here from someone who is vastly more experienced than, anyone else that's recorded gameplay of Destiny 2 so far, so naturally it's going to look a little bit better probably. So that's my kind of stance on the whole discussion right now. I think we need to wait and see. Sentinel Titan looks like a lot of fun, but to me, Arc Strider looks, amazing as well, and so does the Dawnblade. They all have their kind of own interesting capability, and let's get the game in our hands before, we start calling for nerfs and stuff like that. So finally, as of today, the 13th of July, PlayStation will be able to start preloading the beta for Destiny 2. Stay tuned for updates from PlayStation or from Bungie later on today. We may also hear something about Xbox preloading, but if you're a PC player, you can now link your Blizzard Battle.net account to Bungie.net. You'll need to do this in order to get access to your beta codes for PC, so go to your account linking page in your Bungie.net settings and you'll be able to get this sorted out. So there we go guys, just wanted to break down a few things that you might have missed from the recent gameplay, as well as some of my thoughts on the Sentinel and the other subclasses. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. If you have enjoyed the video though, a like is very much appreciated. If you want to save 5% on the PC version of Destiny 2 via Battle.net keys, then check out Games Planet in the link in the description. But for now, I appreciate you guys watching as always, and I hope you have an awesome day.